Hey there, everybody. Welcome on into Writing to Heal. My name is Jenna O'Malley. I am your soul writer, author of sci-fi fantasy with dashes of romance and nerdy references. It's very good to see you. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing great. Happy fall equinox. Happy eclipse season. If you know, we just had one and we're about to go through another. So, what are you doing to take some time out here and kind of enjoy what I really consider to be the official start to the hustle and bustle of the holiday season? Hello, ma'am. I hear you. Do you want to come up here and say hello already, or you just want to sit there mute the entire time? We nicknamed Molly as Moo because she kind of sounds like she moos, and she's kind of doing it right now. How are you? If you have not done so today, and I'm not saying this to get religious or overly spiritual, what have you done to take a couple of minutes to pray and or meditate? I come from a belief where literally one of a singer that I've been introduced through family, Heather Alexander, says in many cultures a spell is just a prayer. They have a lot of the same things, a lot of the same intentions, and it's all just good vibe energy. So that's kind of what I'm wondering. What are we really doing to take the time to reset this autumn? Jess is here. Sam is here. Yes, it's Moo. Yes, you're being asked for, channel mascot. Well, I tried to hold you. Are you going to sit in frame at least? Okay, at least you're sitting in frame. So, kind of taking a cue here from someone who knows a lot, because she's been around for at least 19 years of human life. What are you doing to get your own attention? She's really good at refilling her well, ain't ya? I wore the wrong shirt for today, apparently. You're kind of blending in. There is a cat here, not just my shirt, I promise. But what are you doing to reset your brain? It's Sunday. A lot of us do our planning on Sundays and Mondays for this reason, I think. It gets us kind of into that similar zone. I got you in the video, ma'am. Enjoy it. Thank you. Sit right there. Stay. Anyhow, I actually, for the first time in a long time, did a shower meditation this morning. Yeah, there's ones on YouTube that are specifically for that, and I haven't done one in a long time. I don't get me wrong, I can turn into that girl who likes to turn the bathroom into a spa for a couple hours. I am that person when I need to be, and I didn't go that far this morning, but simply taking some time out of the day that I might have spent otherwise worrying, like getting up, hitting the shower. Okay, here's what I got to do today. Here's what I got to do today. Wash my hair. When I'm done in the shower, I got to get dressed. And this is where that whole, whether you like it or not, concept of girl math starts coming into with the memes of, I got to do this and I have 15 minutes to do that. For goodness gracious, instead of using our showers for that in the morning, shouldn't we really be using it to go, let me settle my foundations. Let me check in with the basement level of my brain and say, what am I really feeling today? I think this is sometimes why, as a former K-12 teacher, why some of my students would not realize how sick they really were until the middle of first period. You see what I mean? They knew they weren't feeling great, but did they really take a hard second to check in and see how sick they really were? Sometimes no. And the next thing I know, I'm calling the nurse and the custodian to rush to my room to clean up breakfast. I've seen it happen enough times, and even the school nurse at the first high school I worked at, she said, oh yeah, I can definitely tell when some kids are, especially seniors, juniors, kids who work and go to school and do sports and have a full plate like adults do. She said, I know those kids are not checking in mentally and physically. How am I at least once a day, especially if it's game week? I said, that's a good point. At the same time, it's sad that we're kind of encouraging that in kids so young. And as you can see, she found the perfect spot right to where gotta hurt my shoulder to reach her. Ma'am. Pardon. It's like she knows she's not supposed to interrupt. We're gonna call the glaring. Are you happy? If you didn't know, a group of cats is either called a glaring or a clouder. I like glaring because my cats glare. I also, being a cat mom, know that they can meditate and nothing gets them out of it. Let a squirrel show up on the back patio. Suddenly my cats turn into hound dogs. They're quiet about it. They're like, Zen must stare. We call it sentinel mode in this house for a reason. They're just cannot be moved, cannot be moved. So for meditation here lately, I've been really not necessarily listening to guided meditations or music all the time. I did this morning in the shower. Sometimes a meditation for me is literally me sitting on my patio in the morning, staring off into the corn maze across the yard there, watching the deer. I grew up with parents who would do that on the back porch. Where we lived at in Cumberland was really close to the south branch end of the Potomac River that runs down into West Virginia. So we were like, here's us, here's the mountain and the river that separates Maryland and West Virginia outside of Cumberland. So you could technically get to West Virginia faster than downtown Cumberland. And one of the things that I used to do with my parents sometimes in the morning is we would even there, like how we have here, deer walking across our backyard. And having that back this last year of living here to be able to do that, it's some reasons why I was getting up early in the morning. I want to go have coffee with the deer. Oh, look, it's 5. I better go get my shower because they'll be out there in about an hour. So reclaiming that time has been key to me. And I don't necessarily consider what I do hustling, because if it's hustling, it indicates that I'm uncomfortable with it in a forced way. Don't get me wrong. All of what I do with my business and my books, it looks like a hustle, but I'm loving doing it. I would rather be doing that than other things. So I hate to call it a hustle, but yeah, it does really still go down even into the running of the games themselves, right? Because if you, speaking as somebody who did pep club and band and choir and theater and bowling and I kept a planner in high school for my own sanity. Because otherwise I would never show up on time to stuff. And that carried on right into college. And you need to teach the check-in. If you don't balance it, they're going to miss it. And Jess is saying your cat would go into a trance. Oh, yes. Yes, like somebody is literally doing, now that I've given her a little bit of attention, she's been she's literally laying over on one of her pillows here about to go to sleep. She's doing, make myself look pretty so I can take my nap in case anyone wakes me up. Full face of makeup before bed. Yes, Moo. So Sam's adding the porch swing. Yes. See, we had a glider. Similar thing, but think porch swing, but it has hammock-like hinges it swings on, for those of you who don't know what a glider is outside of the U.S. or East Coast U.S. my parents had a glider on the front porch, and you could hear it squeak because it was metal in the mornings, and it was very much this. You could swing almost into a pendulum timer then, or glide into a pendulum timing then, and really zero your brain into that. And I honestly think that's why whenever I like go with my nephews, nieces, cousins, whomever has little kids or whatever, or is a little kid, if I go to the park with them, I think that's why as an adult, my butt would rather plant inside of one of the swings, even with my goddess-sized physique, than sit on a park bench. There's something about not necessarily sandbox and playground mode is, reclaiming your childhood, but something about that simple swinging action. It resets in a musical sense. Like we're resetting our own inner metronome timers a little bit. I think this is why certain people who travel a lot have certain therapies, treatments, modalities, options, self-care things they'll go do after a lot of jet lag to do similar. So a friend of mine who, former teacher, her husband used to travel a lot for his line of business, not military, just whatever he did for business. And he always wanted to take the kids to the park as soon as he got home, like as soon as they were able to go. It was part of his reset, because maybe for some of these reasons, we have a lot of centrifugal force and hard energies put on us on the playground. Think about merry-go-rounds and stuff. Is that really helping us reset more than we realized in good ways? I'm not going to doubt it. Why do kids like it so much? Writer Sam Wicker, gliders are awesome, but you can't do the metal. You got to have the wooden ones. They're around where we lived in Baltimore. The metal ones were super popular because of all the salt and bay air and stuff like that. Up in Cumberland, the wooden ones were a lot more popular with chains on them or ropes on them. But yeah, the storms in North Carolina. See, my brother George, before he passed, he lived out near Winston-Salem, and we have a cousin who she has since passed. She used to live in Asheville, and they both had the same vibe on their porches. They had a fire pit, and I want to say, because they were like siblings. They grew up like siblings, my cousin and my brother did, because she's a little older than him. I think they had matching gliders, actually. I think he found them on sale and said, hey, come shopping with me somewhere in between, because they used to do stuff like that. And they used to talk about the storms in North Carolina that would come up in between the corridor, specifically between the mountains and the beach. So kind of like directly parallel down from where I am in Hagerstown, take it straight down on a map in North Carolina. And the pictures and the videos sometimes they would send of the lightning up over the mountain was just wild. So pretty down that way. And I'm betting, yeah, the Shocky for sure. Jess, great granny, had this old iron swing on a front porch. See, this is what I remember being on my grandmom's front porch, or back porch, actually, down in downtown Baltimore. Used to sit on the porch when you were little and would visit. You can picture it, but you don't know exactly how to describe it. Yeah. Oh. Everything goes back to North Carolina for a lot of people in my life. I know why, if you have a lot of Irish in your ancestry. Indentured servitude camps, North Carolina, South Carolina, and namely Georgia. Writer Sam Wicker, Asheville is like artsy. As my brother George used to say, I foresee if Jen, he used to call me Jen, ever moves down here, she's going to end up living in Asheville because she's so artsy fartsy, just like the city. And I'm like, yes. And my cousin actually used to work in the radiology at the hospital there. And that's where the Murphy heart pension. Oh, yeah. See, she was trying to get my brother George to switch over there for that reason. He had heart issues, and right before his situation happened the way it did, we'll put it that way. He was diagnosed with diabetes, and she said their heart and their diabetic care over that way at the time were really, really good. Well, yeah, any kind of patient care, really. It's a good hospital system. And I think the reason why it's so good, and as a radiology tech, my cousin used to say this: we don't take people who aren't here to help people. If all you want a paycheck is a paycheck, don't come work in my department. She wasn't even management. And she's like, that's how we all feel. If you're just here for a paycheck and you have like no bedside manner, she said, we don't want you working in our department, at least as radiology, because, and she knew this as a cancer patient herself, what kind of things they were dealing with outside of. So, Jess, hence my attitude. Hey, the red box dye is not my actual color, but it was my grandmother's. My family's maiden name is Bryant O'Brien. It was the name when we lived over there, so you don't get much more Irish than that, as my grandmother used to say. And her great grandmother, I believe, on one side, she had a great grandmother who was full blown German, a great grandmother who was full blown Irish, and a great grandmother who was full blown native something. So this is several generations back for me. It's why I have awesome cheekbones. Thanks, great grandmom. And really, really, really good tensile strength to grow long hair. Thank you. All three, the German, the Irish, and the native, gave me all three of those in spades, and I am very, very thankful. Kat, hey, didn't know you were live. I'm glad to have you here. Yep, I normally do this 3:30 circa every Sunday on this channel. Not every Sunday, most Sundays, for Writing to Heal. And we were kind of looking at different ways we meditate, different ways we reset and give yourself time to even plan stuff. Yes, if you're wondering, doing the hair stuff is meditative for me. I shut the world out when I go and do my hair treatments, yo. It's the one thing I'm vain about with my beauty, because it's down to my butt. I gotta take care of it. But at the same time, I think a lot of other people whom have self-care routines related to hair agree. I've got to do certain things with it on certain nights of the week, right? Right. Sam, oh yeah, there are very few nurses and techs here. Yeah, they're really, it's like North Carolina attracts all of them. All very nice until they have to be mean. That's key. Sometimes the bedside manner, you've got to be like, look, honey, I know you're in pain. Let me help you so you're not no more. I learned that from my occupational therapist mother-in-law. She is really good at that, because she used to, as she said, I don't know why they always give me the old men who don't want to listen. Because you're a boy mom. That's why. You raised two boys by yourself. You know how to talk to them. And this is literally true. They're not necessarily being rude, but they're telling you to check your boundaries, aren't they? I was going to say, speaking of the topic of knowing how to check your own boundaries and check in with yourself, good healthcare staff and good teachers and counselors are amazing at this. And you don't feel like they're attacking you. You do feel the, let me give you a hug, shove you on the course correction. So yeah, I'm glad. I wish up here in Maryland that we would take in all of our systems to do better with that. The local system here in Washington County, I'd rather drive back to Cumberland to go to the ER, an hour west, because the ER there actually is better. And it's the middle of town nowhere. That shocked the daylights out of me. And it largely was in this vein of thought. Just a cat. Yeah, Sunday lives, all Sundays. Well, most Sundays, yeah. German, I wondered if you had some Scots in you, honey. And French, yep. The French is apparent. I wondered if you have the Scots because of the texture of your hair. It's a little It's a little wavier, curlier than my Irish. So normally when I say that, I assume, oh, they're from further north. Hey, hello, it's good to see you. How have you been, my friend? All the hugs. Jess, we used to work when you used to front desk for the local technical school. You suggested yes. If you get sometimes I look at it this way, it's a choice. It's a meditative choice in some cases to be that way. And this is a conversation I often had with teenagers. They would get to me around lunch. I'm having a bad hair day. Are you really? Your hair looks great. What's really upsetting you today? And sometimes they look at me like I'm suddenly Cerberus and I have 3 heads. But then I remind them, dude, I'm not going to chop your head off. I'm kind of trying to be like puppy dog mode here and make you check in. Are you okay? And students knew that if I asked you, do you need a granola bar? I was not being offensive. It was my version of, do you need a Snickers? For real. Do you need a moment to sit there and just meditatively chew on something physically while you're chewing on something mentally? And yeah, I went through a lot of granola bars gladly because sometimes it prevented classroom management issues. It literally did. Sam, you used to call Murphy Hospital. Oh, no. That's how I feel about the hospital here in Hagerstown. Yeah. Okay, some people just want to watch the world burn and think everyone else does too. Oh, no, thank you. Nope. I'm sorry. I've seen enough of that. Thank you much. I grew up in downtown Baltimore. I was forced to see some of that and not want it. So, yeah, that's why I like isolation sometimes, ? Because it forces that. Miranda, good to see you, my friend. How are you? Sam, you make the choice somewhere else. Yeah. Some people don't realize that they're in control of their bad hair day, I guess, and what they can do to reset that. I think that's why the colossal never-ending meme of what is Karen is never going away. Because somebody's bad hair day, some people are like that all the time, yeah. But somebody just has a Karen moment, and they're okay. But sometimes you need someone to be like, dude, bad hair day. Are you okay? So what points do you already have in your day where you can pause and meditate? I mean, something as simple as woo-woo and witchy as it sounds, it takes about a good 30 seconds for this to fill up with water from the Brita filter. Because we have one of those that you pop the little flippy flip tab and it comes out the bottom because it's a big one, not a pitcher. Why am I not standing there thinking about good stuff for about 30 seconds? Yeah, my witchy friends would say you're casting a spell of intention. So what? I'd rather drink good energy. And that goes in the other way around. What if that's true? And what if I'm, while thinking the negative, the whole thing that we keep saying of you are what you eat, you are what you consume. What if that it? I mean, sometimes when we leave a party that has a bad vibe, the bad vibe sticks around for a while. Did you eat at the party? Did it go into the food? As someone who grew up in a Catholic church, and my Catholic church was operating quite differently than the typical Catholic church because Father Roach knew that he was serving inner city Baltimore. He looked at it as an excuse to have parties and serve food and serve the community that needed that vibe. And his blessings were always thorough and full of like Santa Claus, good joy, jolliness. Nobody walked out of that fellowship hall in a bad mood, especially if they ate any of the food. Now, I'm part of a local spiritual community that Our priestess at our feast the other night did the same thing. I got to give Kate 1,000 points. She was thorough, and the way she said it, it's like all of our moods kind of tacked onto that energy. We had a good time. I felt great Friday night when I came into stream. So there's something to be said about our intentionality of, are we taking time to not only plan self-care time, but are we also taking time to, if you believe in prayer, meditation, and those things, to purposefully reset ourselves? I don't necessarily consider it being hyper religious or hyper spiritual, more like a reboot, psychologically check in. Is everything okay? Scan the systems, reset. And if that helps you, please do more of it. I thought this therefore was more appropriate for a Sunday talk, not a Wednesday night talk. So Jess says, a friend you used to work with would ask you if you were grumpy in the morning, if you wanted some happy dust. Oh, pixie sticks candy, yes. I had a friend who would do this with cereal dust at the bottom of like Fruit Loops and stuff. Lucky Charms and stuff like that. She would bring it in and she said, do you want my happy fairy dust that I worked so hard for? Pixie sticks would make you seriously, it would at least make you giggle, right? Though, as someone who, has the prom dress from the 90s, 2000s era, don't make it glitter. I'm okay with like the glitter we do in stream and sprints and stuff. That glitter is welcome. It doesn't show up in your car trunk 30 years later. Yes, I am sure there are some vehicles that people have bought after we have driven them around there who's like, where's all the dang glitter from? Because it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Just snap you out of it at least. Yes. And see, this is why my students knew. If I asked if you needed a granola bar, what I was trying to do. And that's one of those things. That's a classroom system you teach your kids during the first 2 weeks of school kind of thing. So they knew what they were getting into and what my intention was behind it, right? And some of us do have these friends. I'm going to admit, some people in this chat, hello Jess, hello Kay, have been that person for me in the past. Are you okay? Normally, if either of those two randomly out of the blue send me a message of, are you okay? Something's up. Am I okay? Some of us whom are married I have some fellow wives in chat who can attest to, when your spouse comes to you and they say your full name, for me, Jenna, or for Sam, because, short full names, not lovey pet names. If a spouse walks in the room and they say, Jenna, are you okay? Sam, are you okay? It's different than, honey, are you okay? Dear, are you okay? You're not necessarily, oh my God, I'm in court. But you take that moment to scan your system a second longer sometimes. So to the spouses who do that for us, thank you. My grandmother used to ask if you wanted chili and cornbread sometime this week, if she knew you were feeling a little off. And I put chili and cornbread for the first time this fall on the menu this week with it raining, because a lot of us are going through a lot of storms. So what a better way. I was going to say, yours is even short with K. Your husband does not call you that, but you sometimes get the look. We all know the look. Jess asked, Jess, you asked me if I was okay. No, I was absolutely not. Oh yeah, we can sense it even through the virtualness of the internet. We can sense it. Kat got so much overwhelmed today at church. There was so much noise that you went blank and didn't hear anything. This is the other reason why I like the way Father Roach operated church proper as a kid. Unless we were singing, it was relatively quiet. And he insisted on that. Again, big loud thing outside the walls. He's trying to make that a place of sanctuary. So when people tell me they get overloaded at church, that tells me a lot of kids were in the room. Or just generally people couldn't sit still and the pews were creaking. I hate that part. I don't like sitting on pews. I'd rather stand in the back sometimes, right? Right, because this. Overstimulation is horrible. I will admit it's one of the reasons why I like that my laptop sits up on top of something, because sometimes when I'm streaming, where is it? If I get really nervous, I can try and eke out my little... I must have moved it. I normally have like this, it's not exactly, it's one of those little pop toys, but it's like just a strip of them, and I will just sit here and play with it and fidget with it. Because it feeds into that, okay, I need to get up and move because I feel overstimulated because anxiety. Jess, OMG, was just overload this morning. The kids are dealing with the full moon and don't understand what they're dealing with yet. And I'm saying that as a former teacher who knows what kids get like around a full moon. Oh my God, there was a full moon at the beginning of the school year. I would not want to be a public school teacher this year. Jess, we ditched the pews for chairs. A lot of places are starting to. I've noticed that. Cat, the preaching itself was loud. Oh, gotcha. Kay, I have one of those. The keys are shaped like little cat paws. Oh, that's so cute. See, that's what it was. It was like a keychain or something I got probably from the Dollar Tree, knowing me, for something like that. But I just acknowledged I had to have something. Even when I'm editing, sometimes I'm just sitting here staring at the screen if it's really, really good. Speaking of someone's book and chat, I did that with recently. And I'm just like, play with stuff. So that way I can physically be engaged with something else and keep my brain engaged. So I don't necessarily need the fidget toy just so much as if I'm not typing, my fingers need to do something. Miranda, some people simply don't understand or just can't relate to the overstimulation. Yeah. See, I like my isolation. I like my solitude once in a while. I think this is why I like getting up early to work sometimes, because having grown up in a house as the youngest of 5 kids, I know the morning hours are the quietest in most houses, just by statistical chance. And I think that never really left me. And you're around kids, you're a mom. You know what that's like. There's something about that nice, quiet, golden hour in the morning of, I can just breathe and do stuff. Jess, you had a 10-year-old ask if he could. No, you may not have coffee unless it's decaf at that age, in my opinion. No. If you're giving your child caffeine at that young of an age, wow, the crash later. Whew. No judgment. I'm just like, oh my God, I would feel horrible at that age. Those of you that loops, yes. If you don't know loops, look them up. You have a cheaper pair and wear it outside of the house. See, that's why looking into something like that made me realize I needed something on my wrist to play with all the time. And why, instead of replacing my malachite ring that busted with another ring, I found this jade bangle, and I'm like, yeah, similar thing. Loops are amazing. If you don't have them, please do check into, for sure. A couple of my students were big fans of them. Jess, wasn't sure if one of your regular students. Oh, it was a visiting child. Gotcha. Like an aunt or an uncle had, or a grandparent had someone else in the family visiting or whatever. Gotcha. Unfortunately, they got to definitely check with the peoples on that, the adults. Cats to K, you've heard of them. See, this is where I'm like, definitely look into them. There are plenty of alternatives. I remember when they first came out, a couple of my students were trying to get their insurance to pay for it for anxiety reasons, and they wouldn't. Now that the cheaper generic-y ones are coming out, some insurances in some states will cover those in lieu of PRN type medications for kids, because the laws on giving that stuff to kids should be followed, is what they're saying. Kat started drinking coffee at 12. I'm not going to lie. My dad used to let me drink his coffee off and on, sips as a kid, by the time I was a teenager and working. So by the time I was 15, 16, I was drinking at least a cup a day. When I first met Cody in 2009, I literally would drink a pot of coffee a day and probably 24-ounce bottle or two of soda. But I was working full-time plus going to school full-time, because that's when I was a call center manager plus going to school and finishing up my associate's degree. So yeah, I didn't sleep. Jess, he wasn't happy about it. Exactly. This is one of those case of kid redirect. Don't get upset. Jess, you don't know. Right. And some kids know what they're doing by rooting around their parents like that. They're smart. They know. Okay, you can chug coffee. I've done this, and it baffles people. How can you drink a cup of coffee and then literally take a nap? I don't know, but I did it yesterday. Is what I used to tell my dad. And honestly, I'm not a good napper, probably for that reason. Too much caffeine in the system. Cat K one day woke up and grabbed coffee, walked the pug, and then went back to bed. Oh geez. And for Jess, your niece does that with her grandparents and mom, and she'll come and ask me. See, no, don't triangulate. That is technically what that is called, is a form of triangulation of child versus adult. Normally you see that in contextualization for like narcissists. Kids triangulate adults against each other all the time. And don't always get away with it. Sometimes they do. So what are you doing not only to plan time for you to get a little bit of self-care, but also what are you doing to allow spontaneous self-care to happen while you're making your coffee, while you're in the shower, while you're waiting for the car to warm up, or just whenever you have a general 30 seconds? The world is consuming so much of you. Take some time. Consume that for yourself for once. And I'll see you later. Take care.